Hi, I'm Becca St. James, and I'm going to continue on with the audiobook of Edancer, Part 2, Chapter 1, Burning Down the House. It's hard to believe that so many fine upstanding gentlemen would venture out desperately seeking Seedy into the underbelly of the city, but they came in droves for their lap dances. Shit, I remember when lap dancing didn't even have a name back when we invented it, and that was probably back in 1982. Most people don't know it was an invention of sorts. Most people just think it has always existed. But there was a time when it didn't exist at all. When we first started doing lap dances, I don't think that we thought it would become one of America's favorite pastimes, like baseball and apple pie. We never imagined lap dancing would become something talked about in every other TV show or movie as something you just needed to do to relax, let go, and unwind. Even some women like them. We have some liberated princesses that insist on getting the treatment. What did we call it back then, you might ask? We called it absolutely nothing. We just did it, never gave it another thought. It wasn't hard to figure out that a little nudge, a little bump, a little grind in just the right place might encourage a guy to reach for his wallet and become oh so generous to the girl he was sitting with. Once it started becoming a bit popular, we had to call it something. As most things originate in California, I believe it originated over here in San Francisco and spread out statewide, and now it is a universal pastime. I had a friend who once called it the washing machine. That was definitely taking an intriguing stab at it. However, I knew it wasn't going to wash. I always thought you'd have to think about it too much before it would register, so lap dancing it was. And it was a fitting title, after all. It was the one thing no one wanted to admit they wanted, but they wanted it bad. I think few attempts at telling the story of erotic dancing have been told, yet I don't believe you'll read anything as raw and real as the tales I'm about to tell you. This particular night on Market Street was especially crisp out. As the wind whisked straight down Market Street from the bay, it was a typical night on Market Street, or not. Okay, it wasn't exactly typical, but it sounded good in the moment. A beautiful, busty blonde girl is sitting in a car looking distressed and forlorn. Dusty is a dancer in San Francisco at the Market Street Club. On the other end of the phone is her twin sister, CJ, who is also a dancer. Their conversation went a bit like this. "Are you okay, Dusty? You don't seem right. I know you're really having a hard time with all this right now, but remember you have me. They are sick people and we never have to talk to them, see them, or deal with them again. They're gone. We have filed restraining orders. We have each other, and that is all we need. Don't try and pacify the situation, CJ. Just because they're out of our lives doesn't mean I get amnesia about it like it's a family vacation package I just bought and I can cancel at any time. All of my memories of betrayal are still right here inside me. They are all still very vivid for me. They ruined my life, and they ruined your life too. If it wasn't Daddy coming in our room in the middle of the night, every night for those agonizing encounters, then it was Mom rationing our food so we wouldn't lose our figures. Oh, we couldn't lose our figures. Oh, my horrors of our horrors. If we didn't keep our figures, we wouldn't be able to track some man. Why do you think it's possible that she found out we were his fucking lovers as well? Thanks to her, we stayed his fucking lovers. She wouldn't call the police, and she wouldn't turn him in because she was in love with him. Because after she found out what he was doing, instead of turning him in, she had joined him in the abuse. Because if she didn't, he was going to dump her and take custody of us so he could keep abusing us alone. He wasn't even our biological father. Our real father, was paid off to stay away. It was all in those letters. I just went through all of that paperwork that was in the safe. That is what I found. $50,000 in petty cash and the memoirs of a sick, codependent woman. I read it all before I ended up in the hospital. The hospital, who refused to continue helping me because I couldn't verbalize any of this. How could I? It's so fucking painful. She was just tired of sharing him with us, yet the only reason she objected to his inclination to molest us was we were cutting into her sex life. He wanted us and not her, the sick bastard. She wanted to marry us off and get rid of us so she could get him back, that sick anorexic bitch. Dusty, we don't have to relive this again. It's making you sick. No, CJ, this is the first time we have ever spoken freely of it. With all that power and money, he could scare or pay off anyone, and he did. That's where all our boyfriends went. She starved us and he raped us. What a power couple they were. When we got older, and she definitely got older without a doubt, he traded us all in for a child bride from Malaysia, and she lost him anyway. She didn't find out till 2 years after he started seeing the woman, because the marriage took place in some other country where bigamy and child abuse is legal. I hate them both. Oh God, if I had only had the courage to have turned them in and filed charges way back then. Dusty wailed on the other end of the phone, and CJ got more and more worried. CJ knew that Dusty had just been released from county psych after a suicide attempt, and that was her MO. So there was reason to worry. The hospital had said it was overcrowding was the issue, and the health insurance was not going to pay for her stay unless certain criteria was met. Dusty had to admit she was a danger to herself, or they needed to make room for someone else. Dusty couldn't talk to them, to tell them enough to justify them keeping her after the 72-hour hold was up. We can file charges on them now, Dusty. I hear there are no statutes on molestation. You are kidding yourself if you don't think his high-powered attorneys won't stop that. We could try. You never know. We just might get a break. CJ, you were always the optimist. But it would be more painful for us than it would be for them. Dusty put the phone in her pocket and got out of the car. She stood in front of her father's house and rang the bell. The butler answered. I'd like to see my father, please. Right this way. The butler led her out to the back patio. Mr. Porter, your daughter to see you. He nodded and went to the bar for a drink. Would you like something? Would you? The gun cocked and a gasp came from the woman he was with. Naturally, you're my daughter. I would expect you to get right to the point. Turn around and don't touch anything. Did you ever think about how you ruined our lives? Dusty looked at the girl he was with and said, your boyfriend here is a child molester, so don't have that kid. It could be genetic. Then Dusty shot him in the family jewels. I hear you can really bleed out fast there. We won't be passing any more of your defective genetics anymore, will we? She then shot him in the stomach and once in each kneecap. The last shot was fired to the head. You're not even worth one drop of my saliva, or I'd spit on you. She drove to her mother's house 3 minutes away. The housekeeper answered the door. I'd like to see my mother. I'm so sorry, but she's engaged at the moment. Dusty pushed the door open and took the gun from her pants. If I were you, I wouldn't be so concerned with my mother. She pointed the gun directly at the housekeeper, who was now involuntarily urinating on the floor. If I were you, I would not touch anything. Keep your hands in plain sight and direct me to my mother. You will not speak or scream, because if you make any noises to alert them, you will get the bullet I am going to give my mother. Do you understand? Yes, Mum. Right this way. Do as I say, and you'll make it out of this alive. I only want my mother's blood. Do you understand? Yes, Mum. She's back here in the sitting room. Dusty followed the maid to her mother. They arrived at the door to the sitting room, and the maid tapped on the door. Dusty motioned her to open the door, and Dusty shoved the woman into the room, motioning the maid to get down on the floor, face down. Mother, how are you? As you can see, I've come for a visit. I see you have a gentleman caller. Excuse me, but you'll need to get on the floor, too, with the maid. The man quickly got on the floor. Della, Rihanna, what is the meaning of this? I am outraged at your behavior. If you were smart, Mother, I would shut up. If you haven't noticed, I have a fucking gun in my hand. And the reason why I have a fucking gun in my hand is because I'm going to kill you for allowing your husband to molest us and for starving us and making me anorexic and suicidal. However, I'm really doing it more for CJ because I'm not going to be here after today to care. Just tell me, Mother, did you ever feel bad for what you did to us over a man who ended up leaving you anyway? I have no idea what you're talking about. What kind of drugs are you taking? You sound high as a...